Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating. It's a strategy for connection, for influence that's, well, often overlooked but incredibly powerful. We're going deep on one core idea today, aiming to unpack, the psychology behind it, the concept, disarming others with honesty and generosity. Okay, let's get into it. So this phrase, disarm with honesty and generosity, on the surface it sounds, well, simple, right? Maybe even obvious. But when you start digging into why it actually works, that's where the real insights are. It's about human behavior, persuasion. It's this proactive thing, almost
Yeah.
gentle, a way to prep the ground before you make your actual point or ask. Think about walking into a room needing something big. What if, instead of just asking, you did something first, something that shifts how they see you? That's what we're exploring.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it can feel really counterintuitive, can it? I mean, we live in a pretty guarded world, often competitive. So our instinct is usually to protect ourselves, hold back. The idea of leading with a bit of vulnerability or giving something before asking, that feels risky sometimes, like you're losing an edge. But this strategy flips that completely. It suggests, that real influence, real connection often starts by lowering defenses, yours and theirs. It's a kind of psychological groundwork, setting the stage so your main message lands differently. It's that crucial pre-step people often miss.
Exactly. And that's our goal today, not just to tell you what to do, use honesty and generosity, but to really understand the mechanics behind it. Why is it so effective? And crucially, how can you actually use this? Use it to build stronger connections, handle tricky talks, reach your goals, but authentically. So let's break down these two parts, the small truthful admission and the gift. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Let's start with that first bit. A small truthful admission.
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about here? Is it admitting a mistake? Because you wouldn't want to undermine yourself, right? What kind of truthful admission disarms someone without making you look weak? Right. And why small?
That's a really good point, and the small part is key. See, a small truthful admission works because it signals vulnerability, authenticity, and those are fundamental for trust. But it's not about confessing huge flaws or, appearing incompetent. No, it's a specific minor truth. Used strategically, it disarms the other person's natural skepticism. Their guard goes down a bit. It's a bit like what psychologists sometimes call inoculation. You preemptively event a tiny imperfection, something non-critical, and that kind of neutralizes bigger objections before they can even form. You bypass their sort of internal lie detector. It subtly says, look, I'm not hiding anything major. I can be open with you. And that builds a little bridge. Shared humanity. It shows you're willing to be seen as imperfect, not some flawless, untouchable entity. That makes the other person relax, feel less defensive, primes them to actually hear what you have to say next.
Ah, I see. So it's like a quick human moment that
Exactly.
yeah, dismantles their initial defenses. You're sort of short-circuiting their critical thinking for a second. By showing a small weakness, you imply you're not trying to pull a fast one later. Makes sense. Okay, now let's look at the other side of the coin, or maybe something that works alongside it, the gift. And like you hinted, we need to think broadly here, right? Not just a wrapped present. So what counts as a gift in this strategic sense? And what does giving one actually do?
Right. Absolutely critical to think beyond the material. A gift here is really any thoughtful offering, something that shows generosity, goodwill, crucially with no immediate strings attached. It could be, say, a useful piece of information you found, or maybe an introduction they might value, even sincere praise that shows you've actually noticed their work, a small favor, or just really truly listening without interrupting. The key is that it feels genuine and it ideally anticipates something they need or care about. This isn't about bribing them. It's more about using psychological principles like priming or anchoring positive feelings before you make your move. When you offer something valuable first, you trigger that reciprocity idea. You're showing them non-verbally, hey, I'm someone who adds value, not just takes it, even before you ask for anything. It can even tap into things like the Ben Franklin effect, where doing someone a favor or receiving one weirdly makes them like you more. It shifts their internal story about you.
Okay, so it's like making a deposit in the psychological bank account first, earning goodwill, softening the ground. And that really connects the two ideas, the admission and the gift, explaining how they build trust before a bigger move. hmm What strikes me is that these small things, the vulnerability or the offering, they're not the main event. They're the setup. They are, like you said, groundwork, setting the stage, making the environment right for whatever comes next. I find it really helpful to think about concrete examples, like say you're about to pitch a new idea, maybe one that's a bit controversial. Instead of just selling its perfection, you could start with, okay, look, we know this plan has one small hurdle. Initially, it needs integration with System X, which means a bit of upfront work. Then maybe follow immediately with, but we've got a solid plan for that. And here's some data showing why the core idea is still incredibly strong despite that initial step. Or maybe you need someone's help on a big project. Before asking, you could share some really relevant research you found specifically for their current challenge, something that took you effort. You've already shown value before you ask for their time or collaboration. That feels different.
Exactly. That's the synthesis right there. The small admission, the genuine gift they work together or separately to lower the other person's guard. They signal non-threatening intentions. They're basically saying, I'm not here to trick you or just take from you. And that cuts through a lot of the skepticism we all naturally have, especially when something feels important or high stakes. By addressing a potential negative up front or by offering unexpected value, you create an atmosphere where your bigger request or your proposal or even a difficult conversation is just, well, it's received more openly, more constructively. You're essentially creating psychological safety, reducing cognitive load or resistance before making that bigger move. Doesn't matter what the move is, negotiation, asking for help, collaboration, conflict resolution. You're building a bridge of trust, like one small intentional brick at a time, before you ask them to walk across it with you.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels less like manipulation and more like strategic empathy, putting yourself in their shoes and addressing their potential caution proactively. But what about the tricky situations? What if you're dealing with someone really cynical or maybe super competitive? How do you make sure your small admission isn't seen as a weakness to exploit? Or your gift doesn't come across as, just a tactic? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, those are really important nuances. The absolute key is genuine intent and careful timing. If the admission feels fake, like you're just acting vulnerable, or the gift is obviously just about you, it'll backfire big time. With someone cynical, that admission needs to be genuinely minor and maybe framed as something you've already thought about or are handling. Like, I know one concern might be X, and honestly, I thought about that too initially. Here's how we adjust it. It shows you anticipate their view rather than being naive. And for the gift, it has to be something genuinely valuable to them, not just convenient for you. Offering, say, tailored information that clearly took effort or a really sharp observation they might have missed that can actually cut through cynicism because it demonstrates respect and intelligence, not just, flattery. It shows you invested time in their world.
Right, sincerity has to be the foundation. It's not just a trick. Okay, so bringing this back to you, our listener, we've talked about the what's and the why. Let's think about the how. Consider a situation coming up for you. Maybe one where you need to build trust quickly or you expect some pushback. Could be a big presentation, a tough family conversation, maybe just meeting someone new you want to connect with properly. Where could you consciously apply this idea? Disarming with a small bit of honesty or a thoughtful, generous gesture.
It's incredibly versatile, honestly. You can use it almost anywhere. Think professionally. Pitching a new project. Instead of just hyping it, maybe start by acknowledging one small anticipated bump. This is exciting, but fair warning, it will mean a slight shift in workflow for the first couple weeks. We've already planned for that with Solution Y. See, you disarm that little niggle, or maybe you need help from a swamped colleague. Before you ask, maybe send them that article you saw that's perfect for their big project. A little deposit first, personally. If you need to have a sensitive chat with someone close, maybe start with a small, unsolicited favor, or a really genuine compliment about something specific you appreciate. Creates warmth before the hard stuff. Even everyday things. Need help from a stranger. Maybe offer them a quick, helpful tip first if you see they're struggling with something. Oh, hey, that parking meter. Sometimes you got to hit the green button twice. Then ask for directions. It works because it taps into fundamental human stuff. Wanting transparency, respect, feeling valued. It shifts the interaction from potentially transactional to, well, more human. More connected.
Yeah, it feels so much more human-centric. It acknowledges the other person's likely caution and works with it genuinely instead of trying to blast through it. It really can change that initial feeling, can't it? From potential conflict to potential collaboration. So, wrapping this up, our deep dive today really circled back to that single powerful strategy, disarm with honesty and generosity. It's kind of a quiet testament, isn't it? That sometimes the smallest things, a bit of vulnerability, a moment of kindness can actually have the biggest effect. Building trust, opening doors. And it's not about being sneaky. It's about real connection, strategic empathy, letting your good intentions actually shine through.
Exactly. So maybe a challenge for you listening next time you need to connect or you're prepping for a bigger move, just try it. Think about one small, genuine admission you could make or one unexpected, thoughtful gift you could offer. Don't underestimate how it could shift the whole feel of things. from guardedness to openness. Just watch. See how defenses lower, how maybe that resistance starts to soften into engagement. What possibilities might open up deeper connections, better collaborations, more understanding just by choosing to disarm first, with that touch of honesty or generosity. It's a subtle art, yeah, but maybe one with really significant rewards. Worth exploring.